Hello, how are you? I'm very nervous about doing this. It's the first time I've done this, public speaking. There was supposed to be Leanne McDonald presenting today, so just bear with me. What the aim of today basically is just to clarify, demystify the whole car seat selection process and talk to you also about the Australian car seat standards and the laws and the important factors within the current standard, and then also to help you use your car seat correctly. For us at Safety First, we were very alarmed to hear quite a few statistics out about our Australian roads. The most common cause of death in children is in car accidents, driveway accidents, so anything relative to cars. So what we would like to do is try and reduce that statistic and help you give your child the best protection possible. So the first statistic I want to raise with you today is around the fact that 4 out of 5 car seats in Australia are incorrectly installed. A car seat can only be as effective as the installation process allows. So if you've installed your car seat incorrectly, it actually won't work in the event of an accident. The second car seat statistic I just want to share with you is that 60% of children in Australia are actually restrained incorrectly. They're either in the wrong harness, not harnessed at all, in a lap sash belt too soon. So these are the things we want to try and clarify with you today. And then the last statistic is actually parents transitioning their children too soon. There's a lot of people out there that think, oh, my little one's big enough to be in a normal car, in a normal seat now, or they're old enough to sit in the front seat of a car. So we want to just make sure that you understand when that process and when that transition should actually occur. I'm going to go through with you just the types of child restraints today that you should be aware of. Now, these are relative to the Safety First car stages that we have. If you do have another car seat from another manufacturer, you should contact them to understand your seat better. But what I'll do is this will at least give you an overview of what types of restraints are available in Australia. The first type of restraint you'll see is an infant carrier. An infant carrier will take you from birth usually to about 6 months of age. The benefit of an infant carrier is that you can use it as a travel system. So you can unclick your child restraint from the car and click it straight into your stroller, or you can use it as a bassinet to carry around. So that's your first type of child restraint. It does have a built-in safety harness. So when I talk about a built-in safety harness, it is this system here that is actually permanently attached to your child restraint. Now, everyone does understand what a child restraint is. It's a car seat, a booster seat, so this is what we call our child safety devices in vehicles. The next stage of child restraint is our convertible car seat. The beauty of this car seat here is that you can go from a rearward facing position, like so, and once your baby hits this height marker here, in our child restraints it goes at 12 months, you flip the seat around so that your child is forward facing. This particular seat has a built-in harness, and this harness is always attached to your seat. This seat usually goes from about birth through to 4 years of age. Sometimes you might get a little bit longer in your child restraint, and I'll go through that with you also today. The next type of child restraint you may be familiar with is our convertible booster seats. This type of child restraint is usually from about 6 months of age right through to 7 to 8 years of age. This seat takes you forward facing only. It has a built-in harness which you remove once your child gets a little bit bigger and they reach this shoulder height marker here. We take this out and we actually use this seat with the adult lap sash seatbelt. Adult lap sash seatbelts are only being tested with people to the height of 145 centimetres. So if you are below 145 centimetres, you should be in a booster seat. That can be anywhere from 6 to 8 to maybe even 9 years of age, depending on your child's height. You'll notice on the back of these seats that we do have this belt feeder path. Now what this does is actually ensures that the lap sash seatbelt in your vehicle is always constantly sitting above the shoulder height of your child, giving them the best protection. Again, like I said, the lap sash seatbelt won't work if it's sitting above here. What we're doing by introducing them into a booster seat is making sure that that lap sash seatbelt is always above their shoulder. The fifth type of restraint, I'm up to 4, and fourth, you can actually just buy a booster seat with no harness at all. Now, a booster seat is only from 4 years of age through to about 7 or 8 years of age, and it is just a booster seat which you use with an adult lap sash seatbelt. Guys, if I'm going too fast and you have any questions, please stop me, slow me down. Okay, keep going. So the next thing I want to talk to you about today is our child restraint laws. Not all of them, because I don't want to bore you, but I want to go through some really, really important ones that you need to be aware of. When the new laws were passed, which is currently we're in the 2010 standard, which was introduced roughly about 2012 into the marketplace, the things you would have noticed that would have been brought in were that we're no longer going by weight of your child. We now go by your child's shoulder height. A child can be quite big or small, but their shoulders would sit at a different level. So what we found was shoulder height is a better indicator for us to make sure that harnessing is at the correct height for your child. The next part we look at is approximate age. So we only say approximate age because your child can be 6 months and still be in a car seat if their shoulders are below the height marker, which I'll show you in a moment. And then the next thing that was introduced was belt path labels. And what the belt path labels do is actually help you to attach your child restraint to your vehicle. And it demystifies which path you need to take. So I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. And then the last thing is our top tether. In Australia, we have the most stringent standards in the world, and we have a top tether attachment, which I'll show you in a moment as well. Shoulder height markers. So shoulder height labels. What they indicate is whether your child is suitable for a child restraint, at what stage to move them to the next stage of child restraint. So, for example, when I was talking about this particular product here, this seat starts from birth. We know that this seat starts from birth. But when baby's shoulders get to this height marker here, that's when it's time to actually turn your seat forward facing. When they get to this shoulder height marker here, we no longer can use this seat, and then they need to go into a booster seat to 7 or 8 years of age. Now, your child can hit this height marker sooner or later. Until they get to this height marker, you do not transition them. Under no circumstances do you transition them. The safest place for your child is rearward facing. We would recommend that if your child has not hit this height marker, do not flip this seat forward facing. You're actually putting a lot of strain on their neck and their heads, so keep them rearward facing for as long as possible. This particular seat here, the first height marker tells us that it's suitable for use. So if their shoulders are below this height marker here, you cannot use this child restraint. When they get to this stage here, we can take this harness out and we can use an adult lap sash belt. This headrest will go all the way up. And when they get to this height marker here, they can then sit in a car seat without a booster anymore. They can sit on your actual vehicle seat, but not until they get to this height marker here. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, next slide. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is age. Now we say approximate age, again, because we're talking, this is where you need to be focusing more on, is your labels. All your age is going to determine is which seat you should be looking at, basically. So, children under the age of 6 months must be rearward facing. Under no circumstance is a child under 6 months old allowed to sit in a forward facing child restraint. Children 6 months to 4 years can either be forward facing or rearward facing, depending on what your child restraint will allow. This one will allow you to go rearward facing to 12 months. So there is a crossover in that age category. And the last age category is 4 to 7 years of age. Again, there's a crossover. You can be harnessed or you could use an adult lap sash seatbelt, but you must be in a booster seat. Our belt path markers. You'll notice on child restraints that there is a series of path markers and they're indicated in different areas on your child restraint. In this particular seat, you'll notice there's a blue one here, a yellow one here. And then when I go into this seat here, you'll notice that there's various yellow belt path markers actually sewn into the seat. And if I flip the seat around, you'll notice that there's red belt path markers here and on the sides here. What that is telling you is where you need to feed your belt. So your seat belt, your vehicle seat belt, on a rearward and a forward facing car seat actually feed through the seat. When it's booster seat mode, it actually feeds across. So it feeds in the back of this area here, comes out, goes across your child's shoulders, across the lap, and under here and click straight in. So you follow these belt path markers to understand where your seatbelt goes. Each child restraint has a different belt path marker, so you need to be familiar with the belt path marker that your particular child restraint has. All our Safety First products, we have instructional videos that you can look at. You can also go to a professional installer to have a look at how that's done or get them to install it for you. Blue indicates rearward facing. Yellow indicates forward facing, and red is booster seat mode. Okay? And the last thing I'll go through with the standard is our top tether arrangement. So, all car seats in Australia must be attached by a tether. Normally located at the rear of your child restraint, this tether gets attached to the anchor point in your vehicle. If your vehicle does not have an anchor point, you can purchase an aftermarket anchor kit and have that professionally installed. Yep, it looks like this. You must make sure that this tether strap is attached to the anchor point, that it is taut, not too firm. You must have a little bit of flex in it. You don't want to lift the seat unit off your actual vehicle seat, so you don't want any lift. You just want it to be a little bit taut. So you'll actually feel when you're actually attaching this that you can press down just a little bit on this tether. Those anchor points usually are found at the rear of your vehicle seat, at the floor in your boot, also on the rooftop of your vehicle, and your parcel shelf. So I think that, and if you don't have one, then go and purchase an anchor kit because you must have that attached. Have I gone too fast? Do you want me to stop, slow down? Any questions? No? Good? Great. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is regular safety checks that you should do on your child restraint. I'll pass out today at the end a little checklist which you should all take home with you. I recommend that you do this at least once a month. As you use your child restraint, you can appreciate that it will move over time. So it's really important to make sure you check your child restraint at regular intervals. Also, your child may grow, so we want to make sure that our harnessing and our headrest is at the correct position for our growing child. So we're going to talk about secure installation. We'll keep going. Child fitment. Maintenance. So I'll go through secure installation. Secure installation, we're going to make sure our belt path is fed through the correct belt path label. The next thing we're going to do is check that our top tether is actually attached and still quite firm. We're going to make sure that there's no twists at all in our tethers and in our belts, the belt that we're using to actually attach the child restraint. Make sure that it's very, very firm. Always pop your weight down into the center of the seat and pull the belt as tight as you can to release the slack in the belt. And same with the tether. Push down slightly and make sure you've got this nice, firm, taut tether. No twists. If you have a twist, it'll actually compromise how firm that restraint is going to pull in the event of an accident. And the other thing I recommend is make sure there is no loose items in your vehicle. If you've got a storage pocket of any kind or a net or a fence that you can put up to separate your boot from your vehicle back seat, it's highly recommended. Any loose items in a vehicle can act as a projectile in the event of an accident. Simple things like pencil cases, toys, anything really, in the event of an accident can actually harm your child. So it's really important to make sure that you keep that area in the back of your seat where your child is clean and free. The next thing I will talk to you about is child fitment. So we talk about making sure the harness is at the correct height for your growing child. We're going to talk about the headrest height as well. So harnessing. In a rearward facing harness, the shoulder height should always be on your child's shoulders. In a forward-facing system, you can go slightly below your shoulders, and you'll notice that in the height labels. So if I have a look here, you'll see that this label is slightly higher than the actual slot. That's done intentionally because you can go slightly below your child's shoulders in a forward-facing harness. However, in a rearward-facing harness, you must be directly on your child's shoulders. You can be slightly above, but you must be directly above, not further behind your child's shoulders. Headrest height is also important. Where possible, you should try and ensure that your child's head is within the actual headrest itself. We say use the ears as an indicator. They should sort of sit between here, where possible. If your seat doesn't have, for example, in this instance, the headrest is quite high, You do have side protection here though, okay? So you don't need to worry too much about your headrest, but as your child grows, you should ensure that their ears are sitting between this headrest here. And again, the other thing you should check is your child's shoulders against the labels. So as they grow, you'll need to move them from one stage of child restraint to the next stage of child restraint. Do not wrap your child in anything when putting them in a child restraint. You actually jeopardise the effectiveness of the harness. So if you do want to put a blanket on them, place it over the top of them once you've buckled them in. Do not wrap them in swaddling of any kind and put them in their child restraint. Yes, certainly. As long as there's a slot. Yep, you need to make sure that the buckle is not being jeopardised in any way. You need to hear that click in and make sure that it's nice and firm. And also firm against them too. So when you're actually adjusting the harness, make sure that it's nice and firm and taut against them. Booster seat mode. This is really important. A lot of people put children in booster seats but don't actually attach their lap sash seat belt. Ineffective. Make sure that you're using the lap sash seat belt. It must come across their chest and right across their hips. Okay? Make sure that it does not touch their face or their neck where possible. And when you're not actually using the child restraint, lock it in with the lap sash belt as well. Otherwise, it will move in transport. It will slide around because you've got to think the only thing connecting it is the back tether. So it will actually slip around and again cause some injury maybe to some other children in the car, and it can be quite annoying too. I must add that. Hand maintenance. Always check your car seat on a regular basis. Harnessing, all these tethers, you need to check that they're not worn. One of the reasons why we say to you make sure there's no twists is that if you have a twisted harness, you're opening up all the webbing, causing them to actually wear and become ineffective over long-term use. So try where possible when you're attaching your child into the harness that there is no twists at all within this area here. If you notice that it is twisted, take the seat out, correct it all, untwist it, and then reinstall your seat. The other thing is also make sure your top tether has no wears or tears in that too, and at any stage if you do notice anything like that, contact your manufacturer for replacement parts. Regularly wash your covers, and also we get this so many times, people ring us and go, my buckle's not clicking in. Take your buckle out, give it a hose under some warm water. You might find that over time, especially with children eating and drinking in car seats, that this area here can become blocked with food, so it's always important to take that out, give it a rinse, and then reinstall it into your car seat. Little simple tips and tricks just to keep it going for much longer. And that's pretty much it, guys. I know I've talked your heads off. I'll pass these around. I'm going to grab some. Yeah, thank you. So what I'm giving you here is just our little checklist, and on the back is also our stages of our child restraints. Again, our customer service is always open and welcome for questions at any stage. Please contact us. On our website, we have all our installation videos, and we ask that you do check those out because it is important. I must say, actually, we do advise you to get your car seat professionally installed. If you do get your car seat professionally installed, please go and sit there and watch it being installed. It is really important to understand how you install your child restraint. You never know when you may need to do it yourself. So really encourage you to go along and participate in that being done. That's it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.